So, Coffee Cup Caustic Part 1. I got more flat earth nonsense coming right on. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Common Sense Logical Reason. And as always, I want to say thank y'all for joining me today. So, flat earthers have a hard time to make basic phenomenon that we observe fit on their flat earth model, which is why their flat earth model is so fluid. They have to constantly keep changing and moving the goalposts to make things fit. Now, one such item, a phenomenon that exists, that we observed, that we've basically measured and seen, is the 6 months of day and night at each pole. It makes perfect sense on the globe. You know, the Earth is tilted at a degree of 23.5 to the sun. So when the northern hemisphere is tilted toward the sun, it's summer in the northern hemisphere, and the North Pole gets 6 months of daylight, and the South Pole is in darkness for 6 months. But when the southern hemisphere tilts toward the sun, it's the complete opposite. Now it's the summer for the southern hemisphere and winter for the northern hemisphere, and Antarctica receives 6 months of light. In other words, it's daylight for 24 hours for 6 months. Now, like I said, this cannot be fully explained on a flat disk though. They can explain how the North Pole gets more 24 hours of sun. They just move the arc of the sun, this ball, in close enough, so that it basically is possible to light the entire North Pole for 24 hours. The problem is that when they move the sun in like that, it just creates a whole nother set of problems for other explanations that they try to make. Again, very fluid model, but it can't be fully explained when it comes down to lighting the whole ice wall. If the ball is on one side of the disk, how does it light the whole entire ice wall while at the same time the light is not getting to the North Pole? Again, it literally makes no sense. Now, aside from outright denial, Coffee Cup Caustic is an explanation that they've come up with to try to explain that. So let's go into a short video on what Coffee Cup Caustic is.
Draw two lines and add evenly spaced points to both of them. Take the first point in each line and connect them. Take the second points, the third ones, and so on. The lines seem to draw out a shape, in this case a parabola. This is called an envelope, and it has a deep connection to both Bezier curves and caustic light rays. Draw two lines again, only this time draw just 2 points and move them from the start to the end of the line. If we connect them, we can see that they sweep out the same lines as before. This is called interpolation. If we add another point to the blue line and interpolate that at the same time, we can see that it draws out the same shape as before. This is the definition behind the quadratic Bezier curve, an interpolation of two interpolations. We can see that the lines just represent the control points of the curve, and we can choose which kind of curve we want by moving them around. If we bounce some light rays into a semicircle, we get a shape called a cardioid, the same shape you see in a coffee cup when the light hits it just right. This is because a caustic, by definition, is an envelope of light rays.
Now, Coffee Cup Caustic is a real thing, and it exists. It works perfectly fine inside of a coffee mug. Not so much on the flat disk, on the flat earth. It makes no sense on the flat earth. Now, a common go-to model that flat earthers often use is this picture right here. This picture, basically the emphasis is more on the basically round piece of metal. It looks like a round piece of copper. But the light source, let's say that first of all, before we go into it, let's show that the light source in this particular model is moved outside the circumference of the supposedly flat earth. Again, they keep moving the model. But again, this can't work if the light source is inside the sphere, inside the disk. It doesn't work if the light source is inside the disk. This is why they have to move it outside to get this effect. But let's look at the flat earth though. It is suggested that the diameter of the flat earth is about 25,000 miles, considering that the diameter of Earth itself is about 8,000 miles. And if you squish it down as a ball from the top down out, then the diameter has to be at least twice, 2.5 times, if not, 2.5 times that of the Earth. So the suggested diameter that we can best come up with suggests is that the diameter is about 25,000 miles. Now, if you look at the walls of this round piece of metal, if you look at the height of this metal has to be about 1/5 of the diameter. I estimate to be about 1/5 of the diameter of this supposed circle here, which is supposed to be the model that they use. Now, if this is the case, then that means that this wall, this ice wall that's supposedly surrounding us, creating this Cup Caustic effect, has to be 5,000 miles high, minimum. Okay, 5,000 miles is a long distance. I mean, that's about the distance from London to about the distance, almost the distance between London and Phoenix, Arizona. That's a long distance. I mean, it takes a jetliner about 10 hours to fly that distance. The entire distance of the height of these ice walls, it takes a jetliner about 10 hours to fly that. But nobody's seen these tall, very tall ice walls. There's no evidence of these ice walls. Nobody's shown. There's no pictures, no video of these ice walls. I mean, it should be easily seen from most of the continents in the southern hemisphere. You should be able to see this from Australia or, South Africa, and even closer, the southern tip of South America. Hell, even from a boat, if you sail somewhere anywhere near close to Antarctica in a boat, you should be able to see these ice walls, these tall ice walls that's causing this effect, this lighting effect. And especially the people who go to Antarctica. Again, people work in Antarctica. There are basically cruise ships that go to Antarctica, that sail near Antarctica. Those people should see these ice walls that are 5,000 miles high, minimum. Now, the question is, why haven't they? If these walls exist, everybody should be able to see them, and we should see nothing but evidence of them, but we don't. And if they were true, and if people had all this evidence of these ice walls, we would never hear the end of it from these flat earthers. They would talk about these ice walls till the cows come home. Yet, we've heard nothing from them. So, it just showed proof that this supposedly model of this Cup Caustic, again, it doesn't work on the flat disk because nobody's showing the evidence of these ice walls, these tall ice walls. Yeah, it works in the coffee mug, because actually in the coffee mug, it's even worse because the walls of the coffee mug are much higher. But there are no walls on the flat earth creating this effect, or we would see it. In closing, Cup Caustic makes absolutely no sense on a flat earth. Why? Because there's no walls to create this effect. Because if there were walls to create this effect, we would see them. I mean, these walls will put the ice wall in Game of Thrones to shame. It doesn't exist. Anyway, if you ever hear these flat earthers start talking about Cup Caustic, well, now you know, and knowing it's half the battle, and as always, y'all, until next time.